I want to invite you to begin with a word of prayer, so let's pray together. Almighty God, we give you thanks for your many blessings. We thank you for your great love for us. We thank you for this opportunity we have to gather together, to grow and to learn. We thank you for Brent and all that he brings to us this day. Thank you for our friendship. Thank you for the opportunity to be in fellowship with one another, but more than that, fellowship with you through the power of your Holy Spirit. God, lead and direct us in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Brent and I met at Duke Divinity School. He was a PhD student. I actually was my preaching precept, which that's a teacher's assistant for a preaching class at Divinity School. But we had another common relationship, and that was we served two small churches in Roxborough, North Carolina. And our families spent a lot of time together. We prepared sermons together. We had good conversations about what it meant to be a pastor and the leader of a flock in that small little community known as Roxborough. And then after we all left and went our separate ways, he continued to find positions within several universities and is now at North Park Seminary in Chicago, Illinois. He is the professor of theology and Christian ethics there. He's also the president of the Ecclesia Project, which is a title that comes with great admiration around the world. And I'm a member of the Ecclesia Project as well. And so every year we get to see each other in Chicago at the national gathering of the Ecclesia Project. Brent is married to Missy, has two children, Wesley and Monica. Monica is a sophomore at North Park University, and Wesley is in senior high school and getting ready to graduating this year. So he's a family man. He's also an ordained pastor in the United Methodist Church. So I'm going to run upstairs and turn off the wonderful music and present to you the Reverend Dr. Brent Laytham.
I will turn on the switch. How's that? Thank you all for coming. I'm very glad the music's going to turn off because I'm thinking I'll be asleep in 15 minutes. I don't know about you. I was reminded when Roy was introducing me of our time together in Roxborough that a story that you all might like to know is that Roy is the reason that I can almost play the guitar now. And my son would very much emphasize the almost piece. I mean, I can sort of, we took a Led Zeppelin class together once, and I sort of could play easy parts of the song, and Wesley got it all. But it all goes back to Roy and this joint youth group that we had in Roxborough that would meet on Sunday nights, youth from about 5, 6, 7 different United Methodist churches in town. And Roy was in charge of playing and leading the singing, and he said to me, Brent, just get a guitar and bring it and study the chords a little bit, and before you know it, you'll be able to play the guitar. And I believed him. Roy told me it must be true. So I went and got a good, Yamaha starter acoustic guitar, and Roy gave me a chord chart, which, I was bright enough to study and actually understand what it meant, but my fingers weren't nearly as smart as my head, and no matter what my brain told my fingers to do, they just didn't. And so we would sing, these great youth songs. What do you guys sing? Well, and I would, see what song we're going to sing, and I would tell my fingers what to do, and even help them a little bit and get ready. And I'd play the first chord, and then the youth group and Roy would take off and sing the whole song and change and stuff, and I'm just waiting there. And then they come back, and we're on the second verse, and I play my chord again. Whenever I try to keep up, there's just no way. So I was the one chord wonder. Roxborough youth group. It's a joy for me to be with you. It's not shameless self-promotion to have put the titles of the two books up here. That, you know, Amazon.com didn't ask me to be sure to do it this way. But I wanted to put these up because they actually have the titles of the various chapters that comprise the books. And I wanted to make sure everyone was kind of aware of what the titles are, and then tell you a couple of stories. So the first book, from about 2005, is the blue one, and it's God Is Not, and then each chapter starts with God Is Not, and then finishes. So God Is Not a stranger on a bus. We couldn't quite get that one on there. And then God Is Not Nice. Then God Is Not American, God Is Not a Capitalist, God Is Not Religious. Those are the chapters of that book. And then the orange book, which came about 3 or 4 years later, we thought God Does Not, and somebody suggested, you know, if you wanted to keep going, we could then do third book, God Will Not, and fourth book, God Could Not, but I think it'll just be 2. But God Does Not Entertain. The one says play matchmaker. The actual title for the whole chapter is God Does Not Want to Write Your Love Story. God Does Not Hurry. God Does Not Demand Blood. And God Does Not Wear a White Coat is the name of the chapter, or Cure Every Illness. Joel Schumann starts that chapter with a pretty good little story that travels around medical schools. It's the story of the hospital cafeteria. And a bunch of folks who work in the hospital are there, doctors, nurses, orderlies, technicians, and all of a sudden this really old man in a white coat kind of comes in and grabs a tray and just elbows his way to the front of the line and gets his order. And somebody who's new says, "Who's that guy and who does he think he is?" Somebody who's been there a while says, "Oh, that's just God. He thinks he's a doctor." The books try to put a fair amount of humor to allay the fact that they're going to say some things that could make people a little bit nervous. And so I want to use a bit of humor as well to make sure we don't get nervous at the beginning in such a way that we don't sort of enter into the conversation and stick with it. And so 2 stories about reactions that people have had to the book and ways they've interacted with me. Across the street lives the Oldfelt family. Joel is a woodworker of the same caliber as this amazing carpenter that built the furniture for this worship space. His wife Christine is one of my students at the seminary, and they have a daughter, Linnea, who was about 8, and we'd gone to church with them for about 3 years. And, you know, I had interacted with Linnea dozens and dozens of times. And one day, Linnea happened to see her mom's copy of this book, which we were using in class, because one thing about being a seminary professor is you can always require people to buy your books. Anyway, so Linnea looks over, and you know, 8 years old, she's a precocious young reader, and she wrote, "God is not Brent Laytham." She thought about it for a minute, and she said, "Mommy, does Dr. Laytham not believe in God?" She was ready to run across the street and witness to me and make sure I got saved. And so her mother had to kind of reassure her that no, in fact, Dr. Laytham did believe in God. Last week, when I got home from a conference, I had an email in my box from a man, it turns out, is in Canada. And I want to read the email to you. "Hi. I read your book, God Is Not, and found it rather interesting. But I couldn't help but get annoyed at all the references to the Nicene Creed. I was raised Mormon and quit the church on finding its theology and history to be absurd and cruel, respectively. I can't help but feel the same way about the history of the Christian church, especially with regards to the Nicene Creed. I mean, they decided to make the notion of Jesus existing eternally doctrine simply as a big, I'm going to delete the expletive, to the Arians who believed that Jesus hadn't always existed. What I'm really trying to get at is the fact that all of this sounds rather absurd. Do you actually believe in the Nicene Creed? Literally? And I'll stop there. So, for me, these two stories contrast a couple of extremes that come to the book. On the one hand, young, sweet, innocent, precocious Linnea read the title and got worried I didn't believe in God at all. And then I've got this intelligent atheist who sees some of the problems with some of the ways that Christians have believed in God and enacted that. And he's worried that maybe I do believe in God. Right? So, oh, Brent Laytham doesn't believe in God. Oh, maybe he does. You know, and depending on where you stand, both of those look really worrisome. All right. So what I wanted to do, and the reason I've actually read the titles, is to start by saying, what worries you? Well, let's begin with the question: what worries you the most? What's on here that well, I could go that far, but whew, what's that about? And Roy said one way I can set this up is to like just talk till you're numbed and zombified, and then see if you have any questions. You know, 1 hour and then another hour. But I think I'm going to be a little more interactive than that. So this is actually not a rhetorical question. What worries you about that list or that list? Look, it's the same. It's stereo.
Nice.
That God is not nice worries you because
We sin.
okay.
That God is not. That worries me.
That God is not,
But He is.
but God is. Right. I guess I should say that each book ends with a God is chapter. So the blue book ends with God is one holy and Catholic and apostolic, and the God does not ends with but the God does, then it's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, which is a little odd. So in the end the books say yes God is and yes God does. What else worries you?
Not one of them.
Say more.
Well, it feel like there's a barrier in the relationship with it.
That God might be too far away to, yeah.
And I was here with them.
Personal basis. It's not personal basis to try
It's
this.
been nice.
Your action.
It's been nice to me all my life.
God's been nice to you. So maybe it's me.
It's been nice to you too.
I have to say it comforts me because I'm just getting back to God. And I've been away for a while, and I had it very strong as a child. But I've been that revolutionist that says no to fundamentalist Baptist and no, and only good Christians, a dead Christian, Christ. You know, that kind of attitude. My husband was very atheist. So I'm just getting a relationship again with God, so that's very comforting.
So that doesn't worry you.
It comforts me.
Okay. So you and I'll sit up here. With all the
Yeah.
worries. But I don't think I heard what you said. Children's
What was
ministry.
it that you said, Mom?
No, I did hear you.
No.
God has been nice to you. I knew that.
I actually didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you
must
did.
have had a little bubble
Sorry.
in my head because I was thinking. But, yeah, I had that little bubble thing going on. Because I was going to say the same thing that she did. It comforts me to know that He's not just on my side, but He's on the side of people who aren't American, and the side of people who aren't capitalists, and the side of people who, that I don't know maybe anything about, because then He understands all of us.
I see that as positive too. Instead of being one of us, we are one of Him.
Mm-hmm.
We come to Him, become a part of His family, not Him part of the crowd.
And I think I read that wrong.
Uh-oh.